So the proposed 2015 budget, with the revenue forecast and meeting the budget criteria of the commissioners, really puts us on the requirement of having an operating budget of around $60.5 million. And if you looked back at our budget request, about 61, just under 62 million were the requests. So we need to come down by about 2.3%, which was at least better than last year. If you remember, when we went through this process, we needed to cut back about 5% for the budget request. So this year, I appreciate, one, everyone being a little bit more conservative in your budgeting and working with us on that. So you'll see the operating budget request and the appropriation budget and the amount that we had to remove from all of those requests to get to the budget that's going to be presented to the commissioners. Again, how was this accomplished? Last year, if you remember, we funded raises, so it should go with a consistent 4/1 implementation date for pay increases. That is consistent in this year's budget, at least for the employees in it. Again, as we mentioned last year, gives a consistent 12 months at every pay rate instead of the question of when a raise is being implemented, et cetera, et cetera. Trying to put consistency for the employees there. We looked at reviews of historical expenses and also consideration of items that everyone discussed and brought forward to the commissioners in the budget hearings. The cash flow that we're looking at, you see again, we start 2015 with a $14 million carryover. See the new revenue estimate that I placed together. We have carryover and new revenue finances available for 15 of 75 million, just under $76 million. Again, the capital and operational, and you can see each year how the operational expenses versus our new revenue. And you see we do, because of the capital investment, we start to chew into that carryover that's laying out there. This does move down as you go across to the end of 19 forecasting, where we do start to get into an operational hole with the forecast and new revenue. That's in where the anticipation of the revenue estimates that I'm using being on the conservative side, that as we move in those out years, that helps to backfill that as we move forward, as also to create that additional funding that we need for the capital projects that are laying out there. And then just kind of putting those numbers into a little bit more of a graphical line. The green line being our new revenues, the black line being our carryover balance, the red being the operating budgets, and the blue being the capital budgets. So we're trying to maintain that those red bars, the operating budgets of the county, trying to maintain those within the new revenues that we anticipate moving forward. On this page, you will see the proposed operational budgets for each of the departments. See the historical expenses for 12 through 14, and you'll see the footnote there. That is by actual transaction date of the expenditure. So if a January expense that actually used a previous year PO, it's going to show as the following year. So just as a consistent reporting method, that's the way those columns read. You'll see the 2014 appropriations, the 2015 operational request by department, and the draft operational appropriation for each department. Capital request, again, we have almost a little over $4.5 million of capital requests. Compared that back to about 3.3 million, you can see where those numbers came from. And again, to the right of the green column, for the non-court departments, we will be utilizing Department 43 again this year for all of your capital purchases, so that's where that money will be appropriated into your org code in Department 43. You've got a list of the approved capital expenditures by department that lead into the match up with our totals. So here in 15 total budget and appropriation history. Again, you'll see last year's appropriation of about $61 million, 63,000. This year we're proposing about $63,787,000. That's about a 4.4% increase in the appropriation from last year. And again, there's some additional investment that we're making in capital and also with some of the new hires, but that 4.4 is what we need to start moving back to that 2.75 and that 2.5 into a more manageable growth rate moving forward.